My name is Pauline Heaton, and I started in the camera department in 1980. When I was 12 years old, I went to a career day, and someone suggested that I take my two hobbies and make it my life. And they said really quickly, what are those? And I said, filmmaking or camera work and swimming. And they said, there you go, that's your life. And I went, wow, what a great idea. My mom's family was from the Caribbean. So when I was very young, I would swim down to the coral reef with my snorkel and observe. And I really wanted to go down and capture what was down there and come back up. When I was 15, I learned how to scuba dive. And then I worked for various underwater companies. And I got my BA at Ryerson for film. And I combined all of those moments into working for companies that did underwater cinematography. Very established people like Vilmo Zsigmond, Russell Carpenter, they took me under their wing. They fed me what they wanted, and in exchange, I fed back what I thought would work, and we painted pictures in our heads of how this would come about, because I was used to underwater and the light underwater and what it would look like. They wanted to get a visual representation in their head of it. And to work with these amazing cinematographers and combine our ideas and then have them tell me, go ahead and go do it, or come with me and do it, was just phenomenal. I would like to tell more women or people about how I was very driven, how I could see in my head an image. I would present that image to a client, and then they were all for, like when we did something with Kodak, I had a visually representation of women swimming in the ocean, surrounded by giant manta rays with beams of light, showing the different lights like tungsten, fluorescent, HMIs, and bringing all that together with having the black wingtips going into the black around, the white krill over the lights with the white bellies of the manta rays coming over the lights. I mean, this is a visual that I represented, and every time I did that, the result was, this sounds fantastic, let's do it. And then after that, I was always a little bit shocked, because whatever I was coming up with in my head, people got it, loved it, and believed in me to be able to actually go in the ocean and do it. And then we did it. I naturally had a vision in my head. Most of it was from growing up in the oceans, knowing that from much research and much time in the oceans, that nature was under a clock. So births of whales that I did for Free Willy 3, where the salmon would be, how certain animals came together, how we could get in the water with tides and ocean and wind and all the problems that could arise. I would take all of that vision and then say, okay, we could take this storyline and make it work in the ocean if we did it here and we did it this way. I would sit down with the director, all of the crew at a lunch table, and I would get the director to tell us in their head what exactly he visioned the shots to be, because everybody had their interpretation of what they thought he would be. And then based on that, then I could go to each department and say, okay, how are we going to achieve this hair? And how are we going to achieve this light? And how are we going to achieve this? And I would put my input saying, these are the lights we have, this is what they can do, this is how much power we need. In the lighting department, in the hair department, I'd say, okay, well, we've got to make sure that it doesn't come off and it has little pieces on it, you know. And so it wasn't that I was the expert, but I would feed off all the departments until everybody seemed to be in agreement of what we were doing on the day. So on the day, everybody really just kind of did their thing, just like a normal DOP, but with underwater, I think it's a bit tougher for everybody because they're not experienced in it, but we would melt our minds together, and everybody walked away from those meetings really feeling like they knew what they were doing and what was going to happen on the day, and I think that comfort level on the day made things even if things started going wrong, a lot better and a lot easier to achieve what we were trying to achieve, which was usually pretty out there. I would just say that when I was young, if I had somebody trying to take my job, trying to make my job more difficult, not kind of roadblock me, trying to get either to a production or to get something to happen, I would kind of, like a lot of times, let it just slide off my back and move and just kind of keep going. And it always resulted in me achieving what I wanted to achieve. But as other DOPs told me, the higher I went in the ranks, the bigger the productions, the more I found background controversy, which had nothing to do with me, politics and egos, fell into place so strongly that I started to feel the repercussions of that. And those repercussions, you know, were a negative input. I grew up in a man's world, so I knew what it was like to be. I had brothers and dads and friends, were all men. A lot of the people I worked with on the film sets were all men. But there are people in the industry that would like to see you gone. And I've had tanks with polluted, chlorinated, deadly air in them given to me. I've had a situation where I was left out in the ocean, 3-day sail off Costa Rica with nobody coming to pick me up. I've had various life-threatening situations I've been put in. And I was smart enough to figure my way out of all of these things. But I think if somebody wasn't prepared for the possibility that something like that might happen to you, I think I wouldn't be here to tell you this story. So mine were a lot more life-threatening situations that were resulted of humans doing something that was quite negative. I think it would be nice for women to see other women supporting them in their roles. I think myself, I would love to give talks and seminars of suggestions of things to do, everything from carrying a heavy camera to how to do something that may be a little more difficult as a woman, how to be in a situation with all men on sets, some men not being so nice, and different things like that, because I've heard of young women who was very shy, then they give it up too quickly. They give it up too early. They don't see enough support, and especially if things go bad in any situation, they don't feel that their back is being watched. And so I think it would be nice to have us, the older generation, around to help out if we can, or give suggestions, or have a place where they can call and have some kind of support. I think it's very, very needed. I was told that the most successful people on the planet are driven. I think I'm driven. So I don't have a problem with that. I think that's an important aspect. Technically, I really liked to know the technical side of all the equipment I'm working with, so that I could either change it or use it in the way I needed to use it. And I was never afraid to call a lab, or call a camera, or call ARRI, or call, you know, Sim, or call Panavision and say, hey, what happens if I do this? There was a couple situations as being a female where I drove onto set, and that day I was only allowed to observe because they had permitted an American shooter. And a female guard came over to me and said, before I even enter the set, they're going to find some fault and have me thrown off the set. And I said, how do you know this? And she said, well, I'm a female guard, and I was standing at the back of the camera truck, and they let me hear this whole conversation, not knowing that my brother is in the industry, and he's in the camera department, and I know who you are. So I wanted to tell you ahead of time. And I said, I really appreciate that. And so I guess what went down was these men who wanted me gone, conspired to have me thrown off the set so I couldn't observe. And I went on the set and I observed, and the PM called me, you know, hours later and said, there's been a complaint. And I said, before you say anything, I have a letter that shows that this was planned. And he goes, oh. And I've had a few of those situations where the guys just didn't want, I don't know if it was me or a female, but they did not want me around. And they were fear, I don't know, for their job or just didn't want me to get ahead and those kind of roadblocks. But I'll have to honestly say, I've also talked to DOPs who have told me of things that were done to them. Irises changed on sets by the focus puller and the operator catching the focus puller. I've heard of stories where somebody writes 10 pages as a DOP to be hired, and then they give it to another person, the job, and they use his notes. So I know I'm not the only one out there, but I would have to say that some of the things done to me were quite vicious, and I think I don't think I've heard of other men having that kind of vicious level, but maybe. The only time I had an aha moment was when I was walking down the red carpet and turned around and went, how did I get here? Like, honestly, how did I get here? I'm with Jane Fonda. I was being coached by Lily Tomlin. It was something you see all the time on TV. You see these stars, but now they're surrounding you like you're one of them, and that was like blew me away. That's where I was, and that they thought of me as one of theirs, and that was a moment that I would say that I was so driven. I was going forward so fast, and I used to say to people when they asked me, I'd take the rearview mirror and throw it away, and I threw it away a long time ago. So I didn't really look back, and so when I finally was walking down that carpet, I just went, wow. I felt like two people. I felt like the person looking at the person of who I was and the person who was underneath all of that, driven, really driven, and everybody appreciating my driving, and for a very long time letting all the crap just float off my back. I was still going, I was still alive, I was still ticking, I was still supposed to be here, and I was getting a pat on the back for it. I thought that was amazing. I would say the highlight of my career is the films that I was able to make, like the documentaries on the side, A Last Wild Salmon, The Birth of a Whale, a lot of things that I know impacted people, and at the time I didn't realize how much they impact them, but I get stopped every once in a while by someone and saying, oh, I'm only here because of Pauline. She's the one who taught me, or thanking me, or watching someone I've trained get on an airplane and go off and shoot something, and I watch that commercial every time I turn my internet on now. So a girl that's working for me now. So I think the whole watching it evolve in my son, who's standing over here right now filming this. When you see this in young people coming out that have come to you and learned from you, or at least you've rubbed off on, that for me is the most amazing, to see it carried on, to see all that life's work, the old films that are forgotten that nobody watches anymore. You know, the impact that I had is still going on a little bit. Like the salmon film is used in schools all the time. To see how that affects people and how people have come to me and said, this is how it's changed my life, or how I look at the oceans different. I think that's for me, that's the joy right now. I feel like I've done something on this planet, and I'm helping, and I'd like to see the next generation helping this planet now too. Well, we're going to get introduced pretty soon to an underwater drone. So we are seeing now technology changing. I guess in the long run, it's going to be for the better, because there's going to be more imagery out there. People are going to see more things that they didn't get to see before. But then the level of professionalism comes down a notch. And so to try to keep the level that of professionalism in everything is, I think, going to be hard. And then shooting a lot of footage to achieve something as opposed to very planned footage is something that's going to have to continually be taught, I think. And the importance of everything from lighting to all the crafts that go with cinematography, and passing that on, and having the next generation feel that these lessons that they're learning is important. That it's, you know, they can just set up a camera and turn it on and get the image, but to say, okay, well, if we use this lens, we use this stop, we use this camera, we use this technique, we plan the shots, we plan where we go, all the things that come into play as a cinematographer. If they try to ignore that, then the craft gets taken down, and I'm hoping somehow to keep that level of craft going, regardless of the expansion of technology and the ability to get the shot in many different ways. I would like to see women more in the industry honing their crafts and not seeing any kind of major confrontation, and a safe environment for them. I was shocked when I got out of film school, which was 50% women and 50% men. I thought that the industry was going to be 50% women and 50% men. And when I got in the industry, which was right out of school, I was actually shocked that that wasn't the situation. And a woman getting up and going behind the camera, I was practically getting applauded. And all the women were coming to me, wardrobe, hair, continuity, like, wow, there's a woman? There was even a famous grip at the time in Toronto who opened the back of the camera truck. It was an 18-wheeler, Mike Cohen. And he said, oh my God, there's a woman in the camera department. And he closed the door and he yells down the street, this is on Magic Christmas, there's a woman in the camera department. And then he opens the door again, and I look at him, he looks at me, and he goes, what's your name? And I go, Pauline. And he goes, oh, great, thanks. And he closes the door, and he goes, and her name's Pauline. And he yelled it down the street. And I was like, oh my God, is this a phenomena? Are we in the dark ages here? And I guess we were. I think it would be very important that the people who write dramas, whether it be features, movies of the week, commercials, I think we have to start bringing in the real environment and the real world. We come home, we turn on Netflix, and we forget that just outside our door, there's animals dying, our wildlife is going away, our waters are still being polluted, we're still drinking that water bottle. We need to bring those storylines into reality instead of constantly, day after day, ignoring the fact that the world is dying around us. And that we're still on this planet, whoopee, our kids might survive, but our grandkids aren't going to survive. So we have to start taking the industry and use it to help people really see what they can do and see what people are really confronted with. And I think there's too much going on right now of people getting into people's heads, and personal conflicts is in every storyline. But personal conflicts for a lot of people now is that their land is going underwater. There's islands of plastic showing up in the Caribbean bigger than the islands. People can ignore them from here, but down there it's becoming an everyday existence. And we've got to build those into storylines. We've got to build those into drama, because it is part of the new drama. And it's people's livelihoods, how people are going to eat, how people are going to survive on this planet is a big deal, and we need to really make it a big deal. I don't know if there's so much someone out there I'd love to work with. I would like to spend more time with women in the industry who have achieved the success that I've achieved, and maybe have some get-togethers so that we can all talk about our lives and how we can move forward as a force to help to get some of the things that we'd like to see happen in the industry happen. And I think that would be really important. I've been lucky in my lifetime to work with Academy Award-winning DOPs who've taken me under their wing, worked with me on projects, and allowed me to do my craft. And so when you've worked with Russell Carpenter and Vilmos Zsigmond and some of the biggest names out there on the planet, and you've had amazing feedback and letters and pats on the back, I think I've had that. So I'm not looking for that anymore. I'm looking to take all this knowledge and energy, and I would like to see the next generation, my sons, who started their own production company. I'd like to really put a lot of effort into seeing where they go and helping them down that path to get to where they need to get to, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. As a cinematographer, I just want to say to women, seek out the information from other people. Seek out, if somebody is being negative to you, seek out people who are positive. Surround yourself with projects and people that are positive. I know that's hard at times, but like I said, take that rearview mirror, throw it away. If that was a bad day, a bad situation, get advice how to do it different. how to go another way, maybe get on another production, you know, maybe go and do your own production. Whatever it is that will help you go forward, feel good about yourself, and stand up to these situations. Bring other people in and let them know these things are going down. And there is a lot of people out there, men and women, who would like to help a situation if they knew it was going on. And I think a lot of women would be surprised to know that that support is there, and it's pretty strong. And so I really think that women should try to reach out. Even men that are being bullied, I think they need to reach out more, because we're all ready to stand in there and be there for them. Whether it be something technical they want to do, whether how they're being treated on a set, whether there's a goal they want to get to, they should come to us, and they might be amazed how much we're there for them if they really ask. And so I just wanted to say that to the next generation. Come get us, because we're there to help.